You've got uncertainty around Pedersen. You got uncertainty around Quinn Hughes. You got uncertainty with your goalie in Demko here. How important is it that Jimmy Rutherford and Patrick Allvin actually do something, including what you just mentioned with Buffalo, to at least let the fans know here that, you know, we don't want you all hanging indefinitely here? Like, what do you tell the fans here in terms of who do they hang their hat on in this organization?
Yeah, tough one, isn't it? I mean, obviously you want to hang your hat on Hughes for as long as you possibly can. He's the Bobby Orr of this generation, sort of, isn't he? Like, he's him and Makar, those types of players. I just, again, I'm perplexed about the Canucks. I've talked about them ad nauseam. Like, I've been nauseated actually talking about them as much as I have been, and I still don't know at the goaltending position what Demko can provide next year. Let's assume he's 100% healthy. Seelovs, by the way, guys, just ran the table in the American Hockey League and won MVP of the Calder Cup playoffs, where the Abbotsford Canucks won the Calder Cup. And hey, how about Manny Malhotra keeping it together when he didn't get the big gig in Vancouver? Good on him, right? What a pro. But anyways, I digress. I think that you got to take a look at moving somebody else out still to bulk up the roster, if you will. Seelovs he can go back down to the minors next year. That's not going to be where he wants to be. So, you know, do you take a look at moving Demko out then? I would actually take a look at that. I really would. And opening up some more money. They need more. They need more down the middle of the ice. This Kane deal doesn't do it for me. They need more down the middle of the ice. When JT Miller went out, like, you don't have to have, you guys have all been in dressing rooms before. I'm not saying that you have to have all choir boys in your dressing room, but when the first move out of the box is adding Evander Kane, that's like that's so far beyond a choir boy to ruffle feathers. They need more. And Pedersen, my trust on that is still low right now. Even though he says he's doing all the right things, he's training, he's trying to get back into where he was. Boy, oh boy, I'm very uneasy, guys, as you can tell, about where things are going in Vancouver. So I'd be investigating all kinds of different options this weekend. I really would.
Just want to follow up the goaltending market. And yeah, it seems like at least Vancouver's got a strength there, right? With Lankinen and Shelovs in terms of what he's been able to do just recently to win a championship here. The Leafs, to a lesser degree, was also an organization that had some strength in the depth. I'm not sure where it all finishes out with a kind of a weak finish for their goaltending situation. But would teams be pouncing right now on Vancouver and to a lesser degree Toronto with such a shortage in net?
Yeah, I would think Vancouver more than Toronto right now, but there could be an argument made that there's similarities between Wall and Demko a little bit. Like, you could compare those two out. I think they'd be pouncing on Vancouver because they have Lankinen under contract. They signed him the extension. Of course, Shelovs is coming off what he just came off of here. So maybe I'm overthinking that. Maybe the Canucks are thinking, well, maybe Shelovs is at the top of his value right now, and maybe we go down that road and try and acquire something that way. That could be possible as well. So, but yeah, they'll be circling there. And you know, now that I sit here and think about it, I wonder in those Edmonton Oilers conversations if Shelov's name even came up for the Oilers. You know, like, I don't know that. I'm just sitting here thinking about it. You know, like, could that have been also in the equation? Because obviously the Oil needs to do something in net, and Shelov's, I would take the risk on Shelov's being better than Pickard, and then, you know, whatever else happens there happens. But that would have been an upgrade.
Well, it is interesting that they've talked and got serious about trades, because certainly there may be a chance that as they move towards the draft or free agency, they'll say, hey, if this is still on the table, let's talk more. Curious to see if those two have any more contact or any more discussions. Want to make sure I get this in. Well, we have you. You know, as following the Islanders this year, it seems like Schaefer's going to be their guy at the draft. Everyone's talking about Hagens. Is it Hagens or Hagen?
Hagens in my book. But,
Hagens, okay. Everyone's talking about Hagens in New York. Well, what's going on? Is there a chance for the Isles to get back in and end up with both kids?
So the rumor, like, I'm not into this. Like, as you guys know, the way that I do my work, I don't talk to any of the other members of the fraternity when I'm scouting players. I don't do that. Like,
but we like rumors, though. We like
I
rumors.
know, I know, I know. So I'll float one out there that I heard in the coffee shop this morning. I heard that Hagen's could drop as low as 11, and I just about spilt it all over myself. Like, if he gets past Nashville and Boston, I would be shocked. So, to your point, Barney, if it starts to drop in that type of situation, imagine it this way. You've got Schaefer at 1, okay? Now, do we believe in Dobson going forward? Like, do we really believe in Dobson? And if you don't, you pick up the phone and say, I'd really like to get Hagens too because he's going to be a 1 and Schaefer's going to be a 1. And will my team be better if I trade Dobson out and I have those 2 players instead of Dobson? So this is how it would work at the head of the table if I was running it. I would make a call if I see Hagens dropping to even 5 at Nashville. Nashville probably wouldn't get want a defenseman. But beyond that, I would absolutely pick up the phone and see if we can get aggressive that way and make a deal like that for sure. And it's the local kid. As you know, they want to put bodies in the seats. That's nice.
Yeah.
But you know what? Put bodies in the seats even more than that, playoff games.
Yeah.
And you got to build the right roster.
Where are you on Dobson, a guy that I have on my trade board? You can catch that on sportsnet.ca. A guy that had 70 points 2 years ago, who had great upside. I think the sense is, with an off season that he plateaued or he didn't take a next step, but it won't stop some of these guys from asking for $10 million, once they get in a position to negotiate a contract. And are the Islanders now caught between let's move him or let's sign him like a few others?
I would say yes. I would say yes to that. And when you plateau, here's my problem with where we all talk about the salary cap going up, and we all talk about guys who had great years a couple years ago, and then they plateau, and what's their value at this point in time? Players have to start to take accountability for on-ice performance in relation to their ask at the contract table. And he plateaued last year for sure, Kipper. That team, though, they were pedestrian as a group, like 32nd in both special teams units, if I'm not mistaken. Like, this was a tough watch. So, but he was part of that problem too, and they got to be better. He's going to ask. If it's not what I want to pay, and it's probably not, to be honest with you right now. That's why I'm entertaining all kinds of options there. The Islanders, you have to ask yourself the question. Dobson's a real good player. I really like Dobson, especially on the right shot situation. If he went to a contending team right now, trust me, he would be better than a secondary guy offensively. Well, let me throw it back at you guys this way. Like, Evan Bouchard, for all of his offense, and he actually did play better defensively for 60% of the playoffs, I would say, for you guys, in my estimation, because I don't really like his defending. But wouldn't Dobson be in Edmonton? He wouldn't score as much, but he'd do some other things just marginally better than Bouchard. I think that's how teams would look at Dobson, right?